Hey guys, welcome back to Maths Recovery with Rebecca. So, in the last exponent video, we looked at multiplication of exponents, where remember, where the bases were the same, we added the exponents. In this video, we are going to be looking at the division law of exponents. So now let's think about this. Multiplication's inverse operation is division. So if with multiplication we added the exponents, what do you think we're going to do with division? Well, if you thought subtracted because subtraction is the inverse operation of addition, then you were right. Okay, so let's look at an example. 7 and 5, just subtract them, and a squared. It's as easy as that. Now, there's a trick to this though, because sometimes when we subtract exponents, depending on which direction you're going to go, you're always going to end up with a negative. So what I am going to do is I'm going to show you a trick to be able to divide with same bases so that you never get a negative exponent. Okay, so let's take a look. So you would always be taught to bring stuff up, and I'm going to minus 8. And then I'm going to be left with a 2 to the power of negative 5. Now, I don't want that at all. So what I'm going to say to you is, regardless of how we move things up or down across this fraction line, it still has to be subtracted. So what is stopping us from taking this 3 and moving it down? Well, nothing. The only thing is I'm going to be left with a 2 to the power of 5 in the denominator. And what's going to be on top? Well, I've got 1 times anything is that thing, so 1. Easy peasy. Let's look at this next one. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take the smallest exponent and always bring it to the biggest exponent. And then my leftovers will be with the biggest exponent. Let's look here too. I'm just going to take that 2 and I'm going to bring it down and I'm going to subtract it. So y to the power of 1. I don't have to write that 1. I'm just doing so you can see my subtraction. Okay, let's look here. So I've got the bigger one is in the denominator. So I'm just going to take this 3 and I'm going to move it down and I'm going to subtract 3. So in the denominator, I have a 2 to the power of 5. And then again, I'm taking the smallest one to the biggest one and subtracting it. So I've got 3 to the power of 5. It's really as easy as that. Again, yeah, I'm taking the smallest one and I'm moving it to the biggest one, subtracting, and in the denominator I've got x to the power of 6. Well, what's left over? Well, we're multiplying by 1, so a 1. It's really as easy as that. Let's go and add a coefficient into the mix. So remember, this is exactly the same as the last video that I just did. So 5 times p times p. That's how these things break up. Now, let's go and look at this. So we need to then work with the coefficient first. Well, when I divide two negatives by each other, they just become positive. And then 6 divided by 2, well, that's a 3 over 1. I don't know if I put that 1 there, but I'm just going to do it. And then I've got a power of 1 here by this x, so I'm going to move it up and subtract by 1. So I'm left with x squared. And then this one comes down, minus 2. So remember, you're always moving the smallest exponent to the greatest exponent, subtracting it, and then your leftovers are always with that greater exponent, because that's where you've moved everything, right? So let's look at this next one. We got this bracket going on here. So remember, we are simplifying. And when we simplify, the rule is we need to break brackets. So let's go and see what this bracket actually means. Well, it's the power of 3, so it means that we've got 3 of these. That's a multiplication, multiplication. Well, negative times negative times negative is still a negative. And then I've got a y to the power of 3. Because remember now, this is multiplying, and we're going to add the exponents. This is actually a -1. So I've got a coefficient sitting over here and a coefficient sitting over there. And because it's all multiplication, this is actually a -9 now. Y to the power of 3x squared all over what was there from the beginning. Okay, now that our bracket is gone, we're just going to simplify. Well, this negative and this positive is going to leave me with a negative. Still got this fraction line, yeah? 9 divided by 12, well, the biggest number that can divide into both of those is 3. So I'm going to be left with 3 and a 4. Now I'm going to put in alphabetical order. So remember, you're taking your smallest one, you're always taking it to your biggest number. So that leaves me with an x at the bottom to the power of 1. And then we're taking our smallest, taking it to our biggest. And then our leftovers is going to be where that bigger one was. Now, what it seemed like, hopefully not, that for every one I moved up, I had to move one down. That is not the case. If I've got to move all 5 of my exponents up because all the smaller ones are at the bottom, then that's what I've got to do. So all of these seemed like that. So what I'm going to do in the next video is I'm going to mix the multiplication as well as the division together, and it's going to be some sums where everything is moving up because all the bigger exponents are on top, or everything's moving down, or you've got 2 moving up, 1 moving down. We're going to play like that in our next video. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed that. Please subscribe or share this video with your friends so that I can get out there. Thank you so much, guys. Hope you have a great day.